Hey there, what if I told you that you can make $300,000 a year by just buying rental properties? And you could quit your 9 to 5, you could fire your boss, or you could ramp up your existing business. Would you want to hear about that? Nah, I didn't think so. You're happy just working your job. Ah. So you wouldn't want to watch a video where I showed you how many rentals you needed, how to run the numbers, and what exactly you needed to keep doing to make a $300,000 every single year. And I'm sure you also wouldn't be interested in 3 advanced techniques that would allow you to scale up your business and become a real estate mogul. Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh, and this strategy's been around for as long as you and I have been alive. It still works. It's IRS approved. It's not wholesaling. It's not flipping. I'm doing it right now, and so can you, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. So I call this strategy the Golden Goose pipeline. What you do is you buy 1 property a month. You rent it out, just like the one back here, something like that. Nothing too exotic, just a rental property, and then you rent it for at least a year, and then you sell that property about a year later for $25,000 more than what you bought it for. So you're bringing home $25,000 in about a year's time. When I first got started in the business, that's exactly the strategy I followed. I bought 18 houses in the first 18 months. I was actually interviewed on Bigger Pockets, and that's what they titled the show episode. They're so good at marketing. I didn't think to call it that, but once I started thinking about it, that is a significant strategy that I think most people can do. You can buy 1 property a month. And then once you buy the property, you rent it or you rehab it first, then you get it rented, and then you just hold it for a year. Then after about a year's time, you decide that you can sell it, and you sell it with the property rented. There's already a tenant in there, and if you can't rent it, no big deal. You wait another 6 months and you try and sell it again. And it's critical that when you buy these properties and hold them, you hold them for at least 1 year, so you're treated like an investor and not like a short-term capital gains flipper. So you're being treated as an investor, you're getting long-term capital gains. And I know what you're thinking, that you can't sell a rental property that has people in it. But here's one right here that's actually for sale right now. And I actually don't own this property, so I better get out of here. Okay, I'm actually walking by another rental property right now. And this is a great example of a property that somebody from California would be happy to pay 150 grand for, because they can't imagine that a house like that would actually sell for such a small amount and rent for $1,200 or $1,500. It's staggering to them that that's a deal. And to us in the Midwest and Southeast, a deal like that is around every corner. And that's how you can buy so many of these properties and then hold them for a year, get this advantage, have this tax advantage treatment because you've held it for more than a year. You've enjoyed the cash flow along the way, and you can sell that property and put $25,000 of profit into your back pocket. So these properties that we're looking for here could be single family, could be duplexes, triplexes, small multifamily, whatever makes sense in your market. But the real trick to this strategy is that you have to find these properties for at least $25,000 less than the current market value. You heard that right, $25,000 less than the current market value. What? You can't do that. Yeah, you're right. What do I know? I've only bought and sold 500 properties or so. I wouldn't know anything about this. Now, I'm not saying this is something that's easy to do, but it is doable. There are something like 3 or 5% of the available market at any given time who is in a situation where they're distressed and they need to sell, and so they'll sell the property for a discount. And it's your job to go and find these properties. I think right now the market is actually primed for this. We've finally switched from a seller's market to a buyer's market. So now is the prime time to go and find these kind of deals. And remember, you only need to buy 1 a month. So you remember how I called this the Golden Goose pipeline? So what I have here is a pipeline that demonstrates the deal flow that's coming in, and you're buying a golden goose. And each golden goose is basically a house. And as the house creates cash flow, these are the eggs that come out. And the idea here is that you're buying 1 of these a month, and you're putting it into your pipeline, and you're waiting for your pipeline to grow for the next 12 months or so, and then at the end you pop it out. But in the meantime, you're enjoying the cash flow that just kind of pops out. But every once in a while, you have a golden goose that just performs like crazy, just keeps pumping out really large amounts of cash flow. The eggs coming out of that are huge. And so you don't want to sacrifice that one because it's your best producer. So you just keep it in your pipeline. And so you may wait another 3, 5, 10 years before you sell that one. That's the one that you cherry pick and just keep for yourself, while all along you're working your pipeline. And as these are coming out, you're getting a $25,000 lick. And the $25,000 lick is what allows you to actually accelerate your being able to quit your day job. Because if you're just living off the cash flow from all of these golden geese, these houses that are units that you run through your pipeline, you may need something like 40 to 100 different properties. I actually have a video that I can link to you that shows you how to calculate that. So as you create this pipeline, you can create $300,000 of income, and you just keep adding new properties in, and then 12 to 15 months later or so, another one pops out, and you just keep buying one property a month. All right, so let's run through an example based on some of the properties that you just saw. What are some real numbers in the real world that you could actually do to do this deal, to do this pipeline? So this is the one property per month that you need. So let's use our purchase price of $110,000, and the seller is willing to sell that for $110,000 because it needs some fix up. So when you figure out that it's going to take about $10,000 to fix it up, basically put some new flooring down, carpet in the bedroom, some luxury vinyl tile everywhere else, spruce it up with some paint, maybe some minor carpentry, $10,000 all in. The roof's in good shape, the HVAC's fine, the kitchen is functional. For a rental, it's perfectly fine. You don't need to do all these high-end flip type finishes. And so you're all in for $120,000. And then you rent it. And then after 12 months or so, let's say this thing rents for, say $1,200. You get a little bit of cash flow. It's not going to change your life, but it's cash flowing. It's not costing you money. And then you decide to sell it for $150,000 because that's what it was worth when you bought it. And 12 months later, you do an analysis, it's worth $150,000. We are not counting on appreciation. It could appreciate. If it does, all the greater. But in this case, that's not what you're after. You're just after that you knew that you bought it for a discount. When you bought it for $110 plus 10, you knew it was worth $150 right then. And the seller was willing to do that because they didn't have the cash to fix it up. And you said that you would just swoop right in and you would buy the property for $110,000, take care of all their problems. And let's say there's about $5,000 in transaction costs. So you're now at 145 minus the 120 that you're all in, and you net $25,000 in profit. That's exactly the type of numbers that you're going to be looking for. Your sales price, the value of these properties, is going to be between $75,000 and $150,000. So obviously the key here is getting the property at a discount. And so you're making $25,000 on this property. You multiply that times 12, one a month, and you're making $300,000 a year. And what's interesting is these are deals that most flippers would probably pass on because there isn't just a ton of equity in it. It's kind of not worth it for a flipper because a flipper is going to put $10,000, $20,000 into it, and they're having to pay these short-term capital gains on the 25. Let's say they make 2025, they're having to pay short-term capital gains, and you're only paying long-term capital gains because you've held it for more than a year. And so this isn't a classic fix and flip type deal. It also isn't just an amazing rental. I mean, it's an okay rental, but the cash flow of only $1,200 a month minus your expenses, you're maybe making $100 per unit per door at first. And if you held it for years to come, maybe this would grow over time, but you're not buying into an amazing deal. So what I find is these type of deals are pretty prevalent, and there's really not any clean way to get into these deals at these terms unless you plan to hold it for a little while and wait for the extra year to then sell it and capitalize on what little profit's in there. Now, remember those bonuses that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? What do you think about if you're doing 12 properties a year, why don't you become the listing agent? Like, there's going to be 12 properties coming at you every year, so use that as a new business opportunity to become a listing agent. And you could make the commission on these transactions and make even more profit, and you don't have to be an agent for anybody else if you don't want to. You're just basically creating a business around your own activity. And now let's keep thinking. We could take this to the next level by being a property manager. You're already going to be an agent. So now let's make this business into something where you already have these rental properties you're having to manage anyway. So if you're looking for a business to grow, you're already doing the activities to get yourself your own leads. And then you have the right to property manage for other people if you wish, learn how to run a business, and make profits from other people's rental properties, pay yourself for the properties that you own, and you can now be a listing agent. You just keep stacking these values on top of each other. And now let's take it even to the next level. You're already being a property manager, you're already being your own listing agent, and you're having to deal with other people's maintenance issues. So why not have your own maintenance and repair business? You're already rehabbing and managing contractors, these 12 properties you're buying per year. So why don't you create a little construction company as well, to where you're now charging other people to run from your property management company, so that they can pay you, and you get the income from managing other contractors who you're already working with. So you see, we've built this perfect ecosystem of businesses here, where you start with buying one property a month, and about 12 months later, you get this $25,000 of forced appreciation on the property. And you don't have to sell, you just wait for the market to bring you the highest price. The property stays rented while you're listing it for sale, and you just wait for somebody to give you an offer you can't refuse that makes you at least $25,000 net profit. And then as you grow and become more sophisticated as a business operator and learning how to rehab properties, how to manage properties, you start bolting on these businesses as it makes sense. So in quadrant 1 here, you start with rentals. And then as you get better and better at collecting rent and buying new properties and getting them rehabbed, you decide to get your license. You become an agent, and now you can get the commissions from all these properties that you're selling every month. And then as you start collecting a portfolio of rental properties, you start a property management company. Now you're the agent. Now you can keep growing. And this keeps kind of building into itself. And then as you become a property manager, you bolt on the contract work. And as the contract work becomes better, it's easier for you to take on more rentals. So this allows you to scale, and each activity that you're doing is building on the next. You don't have to do all of these. You can stop along the way wherever you want. But this is the natural ecosystem of how you take a $300,000 business and scale it up to potentially 4 businesses that are making well over $1 million a year. Now, if this has your wheels spinning, whatever you do, don't you dare hit that like or subscribe button. Don't do it. I see, don't do it. And whatever you do, don't even think about watching this next video.